So this is a question I got over and over again in my audience survey last year. And it's something I also just get asked about from people often because a lot of you guys are like me. You are a personal brand business, or maybe you have a company name and you're not really a personal brand. But whatever it is, at the least, you are not a ministry. You're not selling devotionals. You're not selling Bibles. And what you do may have literally nothing to do on paper with your faith. But you are a Christian and your faith is an important part of who you are and how you show up in the world. It informs decisions you make in your business, both the big ones and the small ones. But maybe you feel like your faith is a secret because you don't know that it's okay to share it as a business owner and you're worried you'll alienate clients and customers who disagree with you. Or maybe you're feeling like God is calling you to share about your faith, but you're like, wait, what does that practically look like when I'm a photographer or a designer or a copywriter or a bookkeeper? And you're like, I just don't even know because it has nothing to do with what I do in my business. You can't visualize it, okay? So in this episode, I'm sharing 4 ways to bring your faith in Christ into your everyday work life as a business owner. And we are also doing a part 2 of this next week where I'm sharing 4 more ways. I decided to divide it up to make it a little bit shorter episodes for you guys, but we're sharing 4 ways right now and then 4 ways next week that are just practical ways, again, just everyday life, how to bring your faith into your business that are things I do over the years of running my business that have really helped me and I think will help you as well. So let's get to it. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, an online educator for entrepreneurs, website designer, wife, boy mom, and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want to dive deep into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a sustainable business that fits your unique lifestyle while standing out in a crowd, then you are in the right place. I created a multiple 6-figure a year business in my early 20s, and now in my 30s, I'm still running that successful multiple 6-figure a year business on just part-time hours now as a working mom. I'm here to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe that the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, website design, personal branding, mindset, time management as a busy parent, scalable and passive income, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Okay, so I believe that we are not all called to ministry as Christians, but we are all called to be ministers of Christ in our life and work, regardless of our literal career path. So that's something I want to say outright. And I still remember being in high school in Sunday school class, which I don't know if, do they even call it that anymore? I don't think so, but in Sunday school, and our teacher asking us what we want to do when we get older, what we want to study in college and stuff like that. And this was as a sophomore, so not quite that close to college yet, but I still have this vivid memory of most of the other girls in my class saying they want to be missionaries, they want to work in a church, they want to start a nonprofit and do all of these really Christian things. And I felt so alone because I did not feel like God was calling me to overseas ministry. I did not feel like I was called to work at a church or anything even remotely similar to that. I did not feel called to ministry, but then I was looking around being like, all these other girls are, what's wrong with me? I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't feel like that was it. So if that's you too, that's okay. But flash forward, I ended up marrying someone, my husband, Adam, who did work in ministry for over 5 years for a nonprofit Christian ministry. And then I also volunteered in that ministry for about 7 years. So I have been in the ministry world intensely so through my husband and through volunteering in ministry, while also running my very not ministry business. And while running this business, feeling like, hey, I may not sell Bibles, I may not be doing the nonprofit thing, but I want to talk about my faith sometimes as I feel called. And I don't want to hide that I'm a Christian just because what I'm doing does not have to do with faith. In addition to that, I also have felt like I don't want my faith life to be separate from my business. And I don't want to live with all my different parts of me, you could say, in neat little boxes that have to be kept separately. And again, maybe you can relate to this. The problem is it can feel hard to figure out how to do it all, figure out what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and things like that. So yeah, these are the ways, again, I think it'll help. Some more private and some more public, but all ways that you can integrate your faith and your business together. So the first way, tithing bigger as your business gets bigger. And this is a very private way to integrate your faith into your business, but such a real, tangible way when it comes to your relationship with God and the impact your business can have on the world besides the way you're helping your clients and customers. But by tithing money, we put money in its place, okay? That's what you're doing. You're putting money in its place in an industry where it's so easy for money to be an idol. I feel like our world idolizes money in general, but especially like if you are an online business owner who kind of operates in the same world I'm in, and even just business in general, it's so easy for money to become an idol with like 6-figure this, 7-figure that, and like become wealthy this way, buy this course and you'll make $100K in 6 months. And honestly, stupid, dishonest marketing a lot of the time that gets in our head, and everything becomes about just like making that next dollar, growing, making ourselves rich, laptop lifestyle, all that stuff. I'm literally getting off on a tangent. That's a whole nother podcast episode I could do. But it's hard not to let that become everything. And by giving generously, you can work towards putting money, like honestly, lower in your world when it comes to priorities, like putting money for you lower in priority and giving back to God what's His, and also separating out your money from your worth. And then obviously, I'm not saying this as blatantly, but like you're helping other people when you give money to different organizations and to the local church and things like that. But it also impacts you and your relationship with God and your relationship with your business. Like it is huge for your own personal health to give away money. So I think tithing is amazing. I love that the Bible also calls us to tithe a percentage. So as your income grows, the number can change. As your income decreases, the number can change. Like how smart was God in doing that, right? There's no like dollar amount that you have to give. It's based on what your heart feels led to give, but also like percentage based. So in addition to your local church, I think tithing to nonprofits that have a mission you feel like you can get behind and your heart feels drawn to can really be awesome as well. Like maybe you're drawn to like helping with foster care or sex trafficking or homelessness or some type of ministry very far away from where you live. I mean, wherever. But also with tithing, I want to say this because I think this is a question we often have as business owners. I personally don't tithe from my business unless I'm doing a corporate sponsor for a nonprofit event, which I have done a few times. That's really fun. And like when you get asked to do that, it's a fun way for your business like to directly impact an organization. And being a corporate sponsor feels so funny because every time I've done that, I've been like the most personal brand corporate sponsor of anyone. But anyway, I personally don't tithe from my business except for that. But this is something we do from our personal finances. And again, your business becomes your income, and then you can give to multiple nonprofits and organizations, churches, wherever. But if you're not tithing from what you make in your business right now, I would just encourage you to pray about this and see what God is leading you to in terms of places and ways to give and amounts to give, and ask Him to tell you like, hey, what I haven't been giving, what amount, what makes sense, where should I give to? And see where God's leading you. When you're really attached to your money and in scarcity mindset with it, you will probably never feel like you have enough money to go around to be able to tithe. Just FYI, I feel like it's like there's never enough when you're in the scarcity mindset. So you got to get out of that. That's another conversation as well. And I'm not going to talk personally about where we give or how much and things like that on here. But if you are curious about some nonprofits that could be good options for you to tithe to, email me or send me a DM on Instagram, and I'd love to tell you some that I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this one. Like this is good and this, because I've done research on different ones. Anyway, especially if you're local to me and want to give to like Tennessee type places. So anyway, that's the first one though. Tithing bigger as your business gets bigger, to put money in its place is a way to integrate your faith into your business. Okay, number 2, being generous with a client or customer who's in a tough situation. And this generosity can come in a lot of different ways. And I'm putting this one right after tithing because it really does relate to tithing. But as a Christian business owner, you can share your faith in a very subtle way just by being generous with your clients and customers when they are going through something. And again, this could look like a lot of different things. I'm going to give you some examples, but this could look like a client who's having a bad day, who you are aware of that maybe because you work with them one-on-one, or they mention on a coaching call or in your Facebook group for your course, I mean, whatever it is. But they are having a bad day and you send them a Starbucks gift card, or letting a customer pause their payment plan as they get through a rocky time, but still giving them access to the product. Okay. And I know payment plan stuff is a whole nother conversation. I actually would love to do a podcast episode sometime soon on like dealing with failed payments and people asking to stop payment plans and things like that. But this is something I've had to use like discernment on at different times of deciding like, okay, do I just say like, yep, I trust you and that you're being honest with me and going through a rocky time, pause it. And I have done that for some customers. I also had a customer, just to kind of bring that Starbucks example in, who it was like over a year ago, but they were going through a tough divorce. And I was aware of this because we talked about it. And I sent her a note and a gift card to Target, which I knew was probably a place she liked. Okay. So we've had customers who are in rough situations, and I don't think they're just trying to take advantage, and we'll let them pause payment plans. So things like that, just like being generous, sending a sweet message, sending a gift, sending something. I don't know. I mean, again, this is also specific to what you do, but those are some examples that hopefully can help you make it practical. But that's just a way for you to love someone well, honestly, which is a way to bring your faith into your business. Okay. And moving on to number 3, praying for these people, praying for your customers and clients. So there are so many people that you probably frequently interact with through your business, but they're not in your everyday life. And a lot of times they literally only exist for you on the computer because so many of us work from home and, we're having meetings and it's all virtual and on Zoom and whatnot. I know for me, it's so crazy because there are some people that I feel and am like close to. I know a lot about what's going on with them, but like we are communicating over the internet. And it can be easy to like forget people because of this when they just exist in your business side of things, but you're not, seeing them in everyday life, but praying for your customers and clients often. So what can this look like? This can look like prayer journaling about them by name. It can look like that client of yours who's having a bad month, not just sending them a sweet note, not just sending them a gift card, but like actually praying for them. Or maybe you don't send them a gift because that doesn't make sense for you. Maybe you don't pause their payment plan, but you are like legitimately not just saying, I'll pray for you, but like actually praying for them. Something I really like to do that I have talked about in the podcast before is praying over customers when they buy. What do you pray for? Some things I pray for. I literally pray that they will find favor with my product or service. So pray that they will find favor with your product or service, that it will go smoothly, like their process of, interacting with you as a client, going through your course or product as a customer, that they'll have wins from it, that it will be worth the amount of money they spent. I mean, these are all like real things that you can pray for. And I always like to tell you guys, and I know I've gotten a few messages about the episode of a little while ago, but at the beginning of this year, that was scripture to encourage you in vision casting for your business. But God cares about your business, and God cares about these people who are buying from you and the businesses they are starting, or the photography client you're doing a newborn session for. Like God cares about them, God cares about you, and God cares about what all of you are doing. So anyway, you can pray that they'll find wins and find favor with your product or service. I often literally pray. So just to tell you some stuff I pray, because a lot of you guys have similar businesses to me. But I will pray that people will be able to customize their show at Template with ease, which I know might sound silly or funny, but it's like, hey, it's not easy learning a new website platform. So praying that they will be able to customize their template with ease, that they'll end up feeling confident and be able to like launch quickly. I mean, these are things I pray for. Or with my new podcast course, I prayed over every new student when I did the beta launch. I'm actually recording this before another launch, but you guys will hear this later. But I was praying over every new student that they would be able to have a huge win from the course and learn something and have the time and diligence to really take the course and take action. That's something as a course creator you can pray for, that people will put in the time to get the wins from your course. Praying about that. I pray the same thing for Book.Designer, that people will be able to really grow their business and actually see revenue increase and profits increase from what they learn in the course. So anyway, this will look different depending on what you do in your work, but this is something we can all do. And it's something like sometimes, like, yes, it might make sense to literally pray with a client. So like if you're in a business where that makes sense, that's awesome and amazing. Like that you might be able to like literally talk to your client and pray over them. But you can also do this more privately. Like I'm trying to think, at least off the top of my head, I don't think I've ever like prayed with a client like over Zoom or anything like that. So I don't know. I've had contractors I've worked with pray over me, which is really cool and impactful. So that's something else. So you can pray for them like actually in a meeting or something, but you can also just pray for them in your own time. Okay, and the last one for this episode, see yourself as working for the Lord first and foremost. So Colossians 3:23 through 24. A lot of you guys have probably heard this verse before, but it says, work willingly, whatever you do, as though you're working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward and that the master you are serving is Christ. So this is not an easy perspective to keep in mind. It's a really sweet verse, but not an easy perspective. In my personal opinion, this is something I struggle with because earthly validation does feel so good. And it also feels so bad when someone is unhappy with what you create, when you get an email asking for a refund or someone who disagrees with something or doesn't like something you've done, it sucks. Or you have an angry client, like that all really stinks. And it also feels really good when you get good reviews and when you make money and when you get more followers, like all of those things. It's tough too. And I would add that as business owners, some of those things can feel tougher because you care about them from like an internal perspective that can become an idol, but you also are supposed to care about them because it's the ways you grow your business, right? Like it's not a business that's not making money. So it makes sense for you to care about it. Anyway, another conversation as well, but working for God to serve God first is helpful. And when we keep this in mind practically, I think it looks like putting our business in its place in our life, in its place in our priorities, and knowing that it is a way that we are serving the Lord and it's not who we are. It's not our everything. It's not supposed to be our everything. And I do believe it's unfortunately easy for our business to become an idol and this thing that we love so much and put before other priorities like our family, our health, our marriage, and our faith. And I think the heavenly perspective on our work helps us put our business back where it belongs. Again, and like I tying it back to the first one about tithing, like we are in an industry where it can feel really hard to keep that perspective and where there is a lot of glorification of like hustle culture and like if you don't really do all the things, then you're not all in on your business. And I just want to tell you that like you're allowed to work less, take the vacation, take the time off, have a longer quiet time and start work later. Basically, I would ask God and pray about and also just reflect on your own of how you can put your business in its place and get your priorities straight. And this is something, again, that you got to like do over and over again. It doesn't just happen. It's not like a one-time thing. And having a heavenly perspective on our work helps us put our business where it belongs. And this also makes me think about asking when it comes to your business decisions of like, does this honor the Lord? Okay. Like when you're making a decision, especially like when it's like a tough one and you're mad about something, like does what you're considering doing honor the Lord? What reason am I doing this? Is this what I'm being called to when you're making business decisions? Those are all helpful questions to ask ourselves and to also pray about. And I keep saying I would add here, but another thing I would add is like, you're not going to be able to get that clarity from God and get answers to things when you never have moments of silence and quiet in your life, which I know as a mom and a mom about to be a mom to two, you guys actually, I don't know when I'm going to air this. So this might actually air after baby boy is already here. Not sure yet, but I know it's hard to get those like quiet alone times. But especially when it comes to running our business, you need time to really vision cast and just think, listen for the voice of God and not be like always having to do something, always listening to a podcast, always on your phone, always like doing the next thing. So look for ways that you can do that and then ask yourself those kinds of questions. And I'll read that verse one more time for this fourth one. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you are working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward and the master you are serving is Christ. Okay. So that was the fourth one. See yourself as working for the Lord first and foremost. And so now I want to recap those 4 ways. Let me read back over them again. Again, there's 4 more coming next week. But first one, tithe bigger as your business gets bigger. Be generous with a client or customer who's in a bad situation. Pray for your clients and customers. Number 3. And then see yourself as working for the Lord first and foremost. And I would ask yourself, which one of those resonates with you the most? Pray about which ones God could be calling you towards and go do it. Like go make a change in that area. Go like think about like, okay, next time I have an opportunity to live this out in this way, like and go do it. So anyway, next week I'll be back, continue this conversation with 4 more ways to bring God into your business that are completely unrelated to these. Just 4 more ways. So if you want more, come back for that or go ahead and binge it if you're listening to this after they've already aired. And I also want to point you to episode 42 of this podcast. Yep, a long way back, where I interviewed my friend Jenna about this, about integrating your faith into your work. And then a more recent episode, 246 with Brooke Jefferson, where I asked her about integrating your faith into your business. So those are 2 episodes, 42 and 246. If you want more just like timeless, solid content on this, go back and listen to those as well. And I'll be back next week with 4 more ways. Thank you guys for listening to the end. And if you have a business friend that you think this would help, please share this with them so they can get this content too. All right, I'll talk to you then. Hey, thank you for listening to the podcast, friend. I so appreciate you being here. That just flew by, didn't it? If you want more Breakthrough Brand, then you have to join my free Facebook community for podcast listeners, where you can connect with like-minded business owners and go deeper on what you learn on this podcast. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/Facebook to request to join the free group. I cannot wait to connect with you there. Again, that's elizabethmccravy.com/Facebook to access the group. Also, if you love this episode, leaving a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening, or sharing this episode with a friend is a great way to support this podcast. I appreciate it so much. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week with another episode.